Do your relationships seem to fall apart no matter how hard you try? What if the real issue isn't them, but something happening inside you? You see, the truth is that most relationship struggles are not caused by your partner. They come from something we call unconscious self-sabotage. And in today's podcast, you will discover what self-sabotage looks like in relationships and why it happens. And the 3 biggest warning signs that you might be unknowingly damaging your relationships. And most importantly, we're going to show you how to break the cycle so that you can build healthier, lasting connections. My friend, this can totally change your relationship. Welcome to the Campbell and Amanda podcast. Honey, let's get started. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited about today's topic because it is something that happens to so many relationships and nobody actually knows that it's happening. Yeah.
That's the definition of subconscious.
I know,
it's
right?
happening under the conscious. It's not really aware. We're not aware of it happening. And really that's what self-sabotage is. It's when your fears and insecurities cause you to act in ways that damage your relationship and you don't always know it's happening.
Yes, it is underneath the surface. And most people don't see that it's happening until the damage is done. So number one, when your fears and insecurities cause you to act in ways that damage your relationships. And then the second definition that we have is that self-sabotage is when your past wounds cause you to act in ways that damage your relationships.
Yeah, that's big.
That's big. We always say that people come with baggage into the relationship. And most of those baggage is fears, insecurities, and unhealed wounds, right? And when we begin to act from those, we begin to damage our relationships,
And we push love away without realizing it.
Yes, we push love away without realizing it. And here's why it happens. And we call these the 3 primary fears of self-sabotage. The first one is fear of getting hurt. So something happened in the past, you got hurt in a previous relationship, and you really did not heal from that hurt in that relationship. And you bring that fear of getting hurt into your new relationship, and you preemptively strike when you feel threatened. So you want to land the first punch before your partner does it because you're really afraid of getting hurt, and that damages your relationship.
Yeah, and we're talking about relationships at large because the way that you operated in your relationship with your parents, the way that you operated in relationships with male role models in your life if you're a female, and vice versa, female role models in your life if you're a male, impacts the way that you will relate to your future spouse or partner regarding hurt and trauma and how you will reject them first if you have a history of rejection and wounding. So this is really, it's subconscious because you don't, you think you've moved past some of these things, but it always resurfaces in new relationships.
Yes. And I think you tap into the second fear, which is the fear of rejection, right? Because you believe that you're unlovable because maybe of the way that you were treated in your family or the way your last partner or spouse treated you, you feel unlovable. And so you have a fear of rejection. And you might not think that it is front and center, but subconsciously, you begin to act from that fear and begin to self-sabotage the current relationship that you're in. You reject your partner before they reject you.
I mean, I did that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I did that because, I broke up with you twice when we were early on.
Yeah.
But one of the times was because I was afraid of, I had the fear of rejection. And so I just pushed you away by breaking up with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that not you, but people just sabotage happiness before they can get disappointed. Right?
Yeah.
And so instead of me going through the pain of disappointment, I am going to reject, or I'm going to act in ways that damages this relationship because I'm afraid of rejection. Again, it goes back to this thing of acting before your partner does because of your past hurt, your past rejection. And then the third fear is the fear of the loss of control. So you're afraid of losing control, so you act out to feel in charge, right? For example, you fear abandonment, so you cling too tightly, suffocating your partner in the relationship because you really want to control a lot of aspects of your relationship.
I mean, one of the biggest things that you can talk about with this is the phone. Yes. Because, you want to know the password. I mean, between us, we know each other's passwords. We don't have anything to hide. But early in a relationship, that can really be suffocating for somebody to always check your phone, to be looking at your personal information. That is really damaging to a relationship.
Yeah, especially if you had been cheated on before, right? If you had been cheated on in the past, you automatically act from a place of assumption and worst case scenario, and you start a fight, based on your assumptions, and you sabotage your relationship. So these three fears to me are big. The fear of getting hurt, the fear of rejection, the fear of loss of control. When these fears are underlying your relationship and you don't bring them to consciousness and you don't deal with them, especially at the beginning of a relationship, you can self-sabotage your relationship with the most important people in your life. Because at its core, self-sabotage is unhealthy self-preservation.
That's right. And the three most common signs of self-sabotage or unhealthy self-preservation are when you create conflict when things are going well. When things feel good, you feel uneasy, so you pick a fight to test the love. In the back of your mind, you're always saying, this is too good to be true, right? He can't be this much in love with me. Let me make sure this is for real.
Yes, and so you keep on testing the connection, right? You keep on pushing the boundary just to make sure, is this for real? Am I dreaming? Could this be Prince Charming, or could this be the queen of my life? This is way too good to be true. And so you create conflict to test that relationship. But one thing you don't realize is that the moment you start creating deliberate conflict, you begin to erode trust in that relationship, and the connection between you and your partner, or you and your friend, or whoever in your relationship begins to grow, right?
Right.
The disconnection begins to grow. You begin to grow apart,
Right.
And so I don't know if you've ever felt like when things were good, too good to be true, right? Maybe that's because, again, you're testing the love without realizing it. It is this unconscious self-bias that is happening. I don't know. You want to talk about the second sign?
It kind of leads back to that story where I said I pushed you away. I broke up with you the second time. You pushed them away and then blamed them for leaving. Now, I didn't blame you for leaving. I knew that I was afraid. But you withdraw emotionally, and then you feel abandoned when the person stops trying, which you did.
Yeah, at that point, I was like, after the second time it happened, I was like, nah, I'm not trying anymore. And so
she needs to come back to me.
Yes, she needs to come back to me. I'm not going to grovel. Forget you. So again, there was that sense of, on your part, like you say, that abandonment, and you're like, oh my gosh, you stopped chasing me. Like this doesn't feel good, right? And again, are you really being ignored, or did you shut them out first?
Right.
You got to be honest with yourself. Is it them that's the problem, or is it because you put up the walls? Right? You can't put it on them. But when you start pushing them away and then blaming them for leaving, that is a sign of unconscious self-sabotage in your relationship.
Right. Because then the narrative becomes, well, you don't love me enough, or
exactly.
You didn't really love me in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
the third sign.
The third sign, sorry. You have a fear of being too close or too dependent, a codependency. So you avoid being vulnerable because it makes you feel weak. You don't want to need the other person.
Yeah, and I think that I have seen this happen a lot with men, right? We put up this facade of strength. And I mean, we want to be strong, and we are strong, but we also have to be real with ourselves when we are at places of weakness. What I have seen, and I've had to catch this in myself, especially in the beginning of our relationship. Now, we've been together 24 years and married for 20 of those years. And in the beginning, there were a lot of insecurities that I had to deal with because I was coming from a culture that had this perception of what a man should be in a relationship. And so showing weakness, especially emotional weakness, was not something that was encouraged. It was something that was frowned upon. But I had to be honest with myself and begin to create a new paradigm for what manhood meant to me, because this whole issue of codependency, I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to feel like I'm depending on her, was something that I really struggled with, especially when, I overcame it quickly, but when you graduated college, you started a job. I didn't have a job.
I had to buy your phone.
Yes, you had to buy my phone. Right? Yeah, and that was just like, I should really be doing this, but I'm in a position where I cannot work because I'm in school, and she is taking care of me. There was some humble pie I had to eat, and I think that we are better off for it.
But the question is, if you can't be dependent on each other, who are you going to run to?
Exactly.
Because then that brings in somebody else.
Exactly.
And that, whether that's a family member, a parent, or another male or woman, like this is like we're a third wheel now. Yeah. We need to depend on each other in this relationship.
Yes, we do need to depend on each other. And so let me ask you this. Do you see emotions as weakness? Whether you're a man or woman, do you see emotions as weakness? If so, you might be blocking the love that you actually need.
Say that again?
You might be blocking the love that you actually need when you begin to see emotion as weakness.
Yeah, and again, remember, this is subconscious. There are things that happened in your life that probably nurtured this kind of this mindset, this worldview that you have about your manhood or your womanhood, and how you manage your emotional self. And that brings us to, okay, great. We've defined what self-sabotage looks like in relationship. We've talked about the 3 biggest fears. We've talked about the signs that this could be happening. But how exactly do you stop self-sabotage in your relationship? And the number one way, and this might sound woo-woo for some people, but I need you to hear us on this, because this is a foundation for breakthrough in your relationship. You have to spot the patterns before they happen. Okay? You have to bring them to consciousness. In other words, you begin to start noticing when you are doing it. When the fear of hurt, the fear of rejection, the fear of the loss of control begin to creep up, you need to notice them in the moment, right? Yeah. I mean, you need to help each other notice them, I would say.
Yes.
Because sometimes you won't. So you need to give each other permission to speak in the moment and say, you're doing it. This is what you're doing. This is what it looks like. We need to stop before it creates a disconnect.
Exactly. And you need to ask yourself and be honest with yourself, am I reacting to my partner or am I reacting to my own fears? Right? That is super important. So instead of assuming he doesn't love me anymore, you need to ask yourself, is this fact or is this my fear talking? Right? Is it the fact that he really doesn't love me? Has he shown me the signs? Or is it me now tapping into my fear of being hurt?
Right.
Right. And you need to be super honest with yourself. So the number one or the foundation of breakthrough to breaking sabotage is spotting the patterns before they happen. You want to talk about the second one, honey?
Yeah, can I just give a good illustration about that first one, though? Our dear friend Juanita always says, arrest your thoughts.
Yes.
And give them a pat down. And so really it's taking those thoughts captive and wrestling with, are these thoughts that are my thoughts based out of fear, like you said, or is this based on evidential fact?
Yes. And don't get us wrong. Part of being real with yourself is not to talk yourself into believing your imagination. Okay. So what I mean by that is, if hurt is actually happening,
right,
don't talk yourself to a place of, he didn't mean it. She didn't mean to say that. She's coming from a good place. She's stressed. And that could be true, but that doesn't give them license, right? So even as we pat down these thoughts, the goal is to get to the truth, right? And if the truth is that you're acting out of the three big fears or any one of them, then you need to spot that pattern before it happens.
Right.
Or if the truth, after investigation, after patting down your thoughts, is that no, my partner is actually wrong in this situation, then you want to begin to deal with that in a way that actually brings about a resolution and restores that connection that you might have lost with your partner.
Right.
Yeah. You want to talk about, I think the second thing ties into what we just talked about.
Yeah, it does. So communicate your fear instead of acting on it. Instead of pushing love away, instead of creating distance, be honest about your feelings. Instead of shutting down, say, I feel scared that you'll leave me, but I don't want to push you away.
Instead of accusing somebody, right? Instead of accusing, saying, I'm feeling insecure right now, and I need some reassurance.
Right.
Right? You need to say that. It's okay to be real. You should always be authentic with the person that you're committed to. If you're feeling insecure in the moment, you say it. I'm feeling insecure now, and I just need some reassurance. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, what if the thing you're scared to admit is the thing that could actually bring you closer?
Yes. But that doesn't happen until you admit it.
I mean, it feels good on some level if I were to say to you, I feel insecure, like probably you feel like she thinks I'm all that and 5 bags of chips that everybody wants me, that I'm a catch.
Yes, I'm still a catch. I'm just saying.
I mean, it does not in a negative sense, but it does make you feel on the other end like, oh wow, she thinks I'm something to be had and enjoyed. This relationship is valuable and meaningful. Yeah.
So you always want to communicate, right? And the third part, again, this might sound woo-woo, but it's super important because you need to rewire your mindset. Okay, you need to understand that love is not something you must earn. All right.
Say that again.
Love is not something you must earn. You are worthy of love simply because you exist. And I love your name for this. Yes.
Yeah.
Her name is Amanda, and it means?
Worthy of love.
Worthy of love. And you're worthy of love. You, my friend, are worthy of love. And if you're in a relationship that makes you feel otherwise, maybe that is not a relationship you should continue in. Right? Or there needs to be conversation that needs to happen in terms of, I'm not feeling loved right now. Right? Because again, you need to communicate. But this whole rewiring of the mindset is about replacing negative beliefs with truths.
And this is work, you know, because at the root of it doesn't start with your relationship now. It starts with what happened or what happened in your home or didn't happen in your home when you were being raised up. Why didn't you feel worthy of love? And beginning to deal with those thoughts yourself and bringing the truth to your current reality of insecurity. So instead of saying, I always mess things up, say, I'm learning and I'm growing.
Yes.
You know?
And I think you should do that for each other, because sometimes your partner may not realize that they have such negative self-talk that is finding its way into conversations with you. So they might say, I can't just do this. I keep on messing up. That is where you step in as a partner and say, no, honey, you are learning and growing.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, we do this for our own son. You know, when we say, I'm the unluckiest kid in the whole world.
That kid is so
let's
dramatic.
give you some perspective.
Yes. Kids do it. We do it as adults. Because, and again, I think that people do it because they want that attention.
Yeah.
Right? They feel like if they say that, then somebody's going to feel sympathy for them. They're going to feel bad for them. And if they feel bad for them, they're going to draw them closer. Really, if that is the intention, then that is manipulation. Right?
And manipulation is learned, because that's how you got your need met.
Yes.
At some point in your life, and the reward was it worked. And so you keep doing it. And so you need to rewire. You need to understand that the reward, you don't have to do anything to get the reward. You are loved.
Yes.
You are worthy of love, I should say. Like, you don't have to manipulate to get to that point of feeling loved, where whether that's the connection through physical touch or positive affirmations, whatever you need to feel that love, you're worthy of it.
You're worthy of it. Yeah. And you need to let yourself receive love without guilt, right? Again, if you're coming from a history or a background where you had to manipulate others to get love because manipulation was rewarded, that was the only way you could get other people's attention. You need to rewire your mindset to receive love without guilt, without feeling like, what do they want in return? Right? Like, you just receive love for the sake of it. They don't need anything in return. They are doing this just because I am worthy of love. I deserve to be loved.
Yeah. I mean, and it's easy to feel like sometimes there's manipulation. And I once had somebody say to me, my husband just puts on this song and he wants to sing and dance with me. He wants that. Right. And I said, well, you can't think that way. I mean, obviously he knows that you love the song and you enjoy that time together with him. And then sometimes it will lead to something else. But
that's how babies were made in the 90s.
But that's not always his intention when he sets out to put on a song and do a dance or to enjoy his time with you. Yeah,
like put on some R&B and, if that is his thing, that shouldn't be seen as, he's only doing this because he sees that this is the person I want to do this with, right? And that should be a moment where you celebrate, honey, I'm glad that you're doing this with me, right? And he's worthy of love. So here's the thing. Most people don't lose love. They push it away because they don't feel safe receiving it, right? They push it away because they don't feel safe receiving the love. They push it away because they're acting from the fear of hurt, the fear of rejection, the fear of loss of control. That is their paradigm. That is where they're coming from. And so they push it away. So we want you to realize that healing starts when you stop reacting to fear and you start choosing love.
When you stop reacting to fear and start choosing love. Yeah. To give and to receive.
To give and to receive. So here's our challenge to you, okay? Write down one self-sabotaging habit you've noticed in yourself and how you would change it. Okay, this may take a few days. You might walk away from this podcast right now and go maybe you just had an aha moment to say, oh my goodness, I'm doing this because because of this. Here is the underlying motivation for me reacting this way. You might walk away feeling that way, but we want you for the next few days, the next week, to begin to bring to consciousness the things that are happening subconsciously that may be sabotaging your relationship. And if you like, and if you feel courageous enough, free enough, we want you to share it in the comments because we learn from each other, right? And so that is the first thing. Write down one self-sabotaging habit you've noticed in yourself and how you would change it. Share it in the comments if you would, please. Then, of course, secondly, we want you to like, subscribe, and share this if it was helpful to you. If you feel like somebody in your life needs to hear this or be part of the conversation, please do share it with them. And then lastly, if you want to know the number one reason most relationships fail and how to fix it, you want to watch this next video that we did on a previous podcast. Honey, do you have any last words for our friends today?
I mean, this is loaded.
It is loaded.
And I just think that you want to give yourself some time and some space to do some introspection or to self-reflect and think about it with pencil and paper and really just begin to understand yourself, because then that will help you to better communicate with your spouse, your partner, and both be on an equal playing level where you're partners, where you're not competing, where you're helping each other to grow in the relationship. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. We love you. And remember, if you want to know the number one reason most relationships fail and how to fix it, you want to watch this next video somewhere here or somewhere there. All right. See you next time.